This episode of Distraction is sponsored by Landmark College in beautiful Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Learn more about how we help students with ADHD succeed in college at lcdistraction.org. Hello and welcome to Distraction. I'm your host, Dr. Ned Hallowell. In today's mini, I wanted to address a question that we received from a listener named Jody. She wrote in part, "Hi, Dr. Hallowell. So after listening to one of your podcasts, I joined the Women with ADD/ADHD Facebook group. Such a wonderful place. A recent topic of discussion I brought up there was avoidance. I asked if anyone else had issue with letting voicemails and messages pile up. When the phone rings, I think, oh no, what do they want from me? Did I do something wrong? And not only do I avoid, I also feel like keeping up would require me to be a slave to my phone. From the response I received, this is a common issue. I wonder if you found that to be the case. Thanks." Well, Jody, that is very much the case. And avoidance is not only common in the world of ADHD, it's common in the world, period. But we ADHDers avoid it particularly much. Avoidance is really one of the Achilles heels, one of the worst things, one of the bête noirs, one of the nightmares of living with ADHD. Avoidance, because avoidance leads to procrastination, leads to digging deeper in the ditch, leads to feeling guilty, leads to feeling ashamed, leads to feeling buried, leads to falling behind, leads to more avoidance, leads to feeling more buried, more behind, and you know what happens. So avoidance, don't do it. How do you avoid avoidance? There's the question. How do you not avoid when your first instinct is to avoid, put off, procrastinate? How do you not have ADD when you have ADD? How do you not let the voicemails pile up? How do you not think, what do they want from me? Did I do something wrong? How do you not be yourself? It's a tough question. So a few quick little tips that I've found to be useful. First of all, one of my mottos is do it now. I will literally, in the middle of seeing a patient, pick up the phone and call if it's something really urgent that popped into my head. And I will explain to the patient, I have to do this now. And patients have understood. It's almost a way of my modeling for them a certain kind of behavior that I hope they will emulate. It's certainly not what a psychiatrist is, quote-unquote, supposed to do. But if it's an urgent thing that has suddenly popped into my head, I'll say, I have to do this. And they'll understand. So do it now is one of my mottos. The other one is never worry alone. So when it's piling up and I've avoided something, I'll talk to my wife, I'll talk to my friend, I'll get someone else to join me in my effort to dig out of that pile. And I'll actually have someone sit with me while I dig out of the pile. Just having someone sit with me will help me dig out of the mess. And another one of the little tricks is say no. Reset your default position instead of to yes to no. And get off some of these lists. Get off some of these groups. For all groups are great. Too many are just terrible. And, the fewer fish hooks you have out there, the fewer fish you'll catch, and you don't want to be allowing yourself to get spread too thin. So the less you have to avoid, the less you'll use avoidance. So reduce the number of messages you can possibly receive, then you'll have fewer messages to avoid. Basic stuff like that, using common sense. So don't be afraid to say no. Never worry alone. Do it now. It's just a terrible thing to fall into the habits of avoidance, because avoidance and procrastination, all they do is build up a big residue of guilt and shame. And every day you start feeling, you're behind the eight ball. Every day you start feeling, I'm never going to get out of this. I'm stuck forever. Well, you don't have to be stuck forever. And once you start digging out, the next thing you know, you start feeling hopeful. And the next thing you know, hope regenerates hope. And hope becomes a positive spiral. As much as shame and guilt are a downward spiral, hope is a positive upward spiral. And you start feeling better, and then you're dug out, and then you want to stay dug out. Once you clean up your room, you want to keep it cleaned up. Okay, I hope that helps. Don't avoid. Tackle, head on. tell the truth, come clean, spit it out, don't avoid. This is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Distraction is a project of Sounds Great Media. The podcast is recorded and edited by the marvelously talented Pat Keogh, and our producer is the extraordinarily talented Sarah Guertin.